Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. This is part 4 of our series, featuring the infamous Brewster Buffalo in Finnish service. If you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, check out the links in the video description. After the initial fast-paced phase of the continuation war, the conflict between Finland and the Soviet Union, the end of 1941 marked the beginning of a long stalemate. The Finns had not only regained all territory lost in the Winter War, but had advanced even further. For No. 24 Squadron, or Lentolaivue, as the Finns would say, things continued as usual, with the frequency of combat often dictated by the harsh winter weather. The last major battle with Soviet fighters in 1941 occurred on December 17. During this clash, the Brewster pilots encountered a new foe, the British-supplied Hawker Hurricane. The first Hurricanes arrived in the USSR in September, and by December, they were operating on the Karelian front. The Soviets didn't particularly like the Hurricane for several reasons which would deserve a whole video to explore, but it was still a welcome reinforcement at a time when the Soviet aircraft industry was regrouping. 2 sections of Brewsters met a mixed flight of 9 Soviet fighters over the Maaselka Isthmus. The Soviet formation included Hurricanes from the 152nd Regiment and I-153s from the 65th. Captain Jorma Karhunen recalled leading a swarm on an anti-railway reconnaissance mission. After reaching the assigned area, he spotted 3 Hurricanes and 6 I-153s, about 1,000 meters below. Karhunen shot down a Hurricane early in the fight, and later, he managed to bring down an I-153. The Finns claimed 5 enemy aircraft shot down in total, maintaining the upper hand by staying above the Soviets, who showed poor tactics and a lack of coordination. Even though the Soviet Hurricanes didn't perform well in this engagement, the increasing number of Lend-Lease aircraft continued to pose a threat. As a result, No. 24 Squadron's second flight was redeployed 500 kilometers northwest to the Tiiksjärvi area, near the White Sea. By the end of 1941, Lentolaivue 24, the Finnish squadron flying Brewsters, was credited with shooting down 135 Soviet aircraft. They lost 2 Brewsters but none to enemy fighters. One went down in a takeoff accident and the other was shot down by flak on December 3rd. Comparing the Brewsters' performance to other fighters in Finnish service that year is interesting. Lentolaivue 26, equipped with Italian Fiat G50s, claimed 52 victories without suffering a single loss. Lentolaivue 28, flying the French Morane-Saulnier MS-406, tallied 70 victories, but lost 5 aircraft in combat. Meanwhile, Lentolaivue 32 scored 52 victories with their Curtiss Hawks, but also lost 5 planes to enemy fighters. On January 9, 1942, Captain Per Sovelius led 4 Brewsters on patrol near Lake Segozero. The Finnish pilots soon had a chance to boost their records, encountering no fewer than 15 R-5 biplane reconnaissance aircraft, escorted by 6 I-153s. First Lieutenant E. Kattorunen became an ace that day, bringing down an R-5 and an I-153, his 5th and 6th victories. Brewsters from number 24 Squadron's second flight engaged the enemy again in the Ruukajärvi area on January 24, 1942. 5 Brewsters faced off against 10 biplanes, a mix of I-15 bis and I-153 fighters from the 65th Sturmovik Air Regiment. The Finns claimed 4 Soviet planes. An unusual detail from this fight: Soviet senior Lieutenant Knizhnik deliberately rammed his I-153 into Sergeant Paavo Koskela's Brewster. The Soviet Chaika force landed, while Koskela made it back to base with a broken wingtip. Interestingly, both pilots claimed the victory for this encounter. On the same day, the squadron lost an irreplaceable Brewster when Sergeant Eino Myllymäki went missing during a bomber escort mission to Belomorsk, likely brought down by a Soviet Hurricane from the 152nd Fighter Regiment. The second all-Brewster ace emerged on February 1, 1942, when Lieutenant Lauri Ohukainen, who later changed his last name to Pekuri, claimed a Lag 3 in the Kappaselka area. There aren't any details available about this engagement. However, a noteworthy fact is that the aircraft flown by Lauri Pekuri in June 1942 is the only Finnish Brewster to survive today, out of the original 44 delivered. It was recovered from a lake in the 1990s and is now on display at a Finnish aviation museum. We do have more details from a battle on the morning of February 6, 1942. Captain Per Sovelius led 8 Brewsters to patrol the Petrovsky Yam region. They encountered 7 Tupolev SB bombers escorted by 12 MiG-3 fighters. Warrant Officer Ilmari Juutilainen, who would go on to become Finland's top fighter ace, described in his combat report how he spotted the bombers at 3,000 meters and alerted the others. He dove on a group of 3 SBs, attacking the leftmost one. Its left wing caught fire and it crashed. He then targeted the leading bomber, but noticed the MiG-3 closing in. Nevertheless, Juutilainen attacked the bomber, hitting its right engine and sending it crashing as well. The approaching MiG was above Juutilainen's position. He managed to turn toward it, and the two closed head-on. Juutilainen fired, causing the MiG's engine to trail smoke. The Soviet fighter veered away, losing altitude. Soon after, Juutilainen found himself under attack by 5 or 6 MiGs. Despite being outnumbered, he shook them off after 5 minutes of dogfighting. By 1942, the Soviets were fielding more modern fighters like the Lag 3 and MiG-3. Dogfights became more frequent, and Soviet pilots flying these faster planes could now choose when to engage or escape, unlike those in I-16s or earlier biplanes. On February 26, 1942, a large clash broke out between 7 Brewsters and at least 15 MiG-3s from the 609th Fighter Regiment over the Maselka Isthmus. Captain Karhunen reported that while on a search mission, his flight encountered between 15 and 17 MiG-3s at about 2,500 meters altitude just after 10 a.m. The Soviet fighters were in divisions of 4 to 6 aircraft, with wide spacing between pairs. As the dogfight began, Karhunen managed to hit one MiG from behind. The Soviet pilot tried to evade, but Karhunen hit it again, sending it into a spiraling dive. He pursued briefly before pulling up to face 3 more enemy fighters, then hit another MiG during a short turning battle. Master Sergeant Martti Alho became an ace during this fight as well. He dove from 1,500 meters onto 2 MiGs, scoring hits on one in a left turn. The Soviets reversed direction and then dove away, gliding without power. Alho continued, tailing and hitting another MiG, which crashed as a result. Despite these successes, the squadron suffered a loss when Sergeant Tauno Heinonen's Brewster was shot down by a MiG-3. Luckily, Heinonen managed to land about 1 kilometer inside Finnish-held territory. It's possible though that the MiG fighters involved were actually Hurricanes from the Soviet 152nd Regiment. We're pausing our coverage of the Brewster pilots of Lentolaivue 24 for now. Their story is far from over, and there is more to come in future episodes. Let us know in the comments what you think of this series, and of course, keep watching Showtime 112.